Hi everybody, and welcome to a final Worth the Calories for 2019. I'm Matthew Vose.
And I'm Catherine Vose.
So we made it through to the final of the Great British Bake Off. What did you think? Do you have any overall impressions?
I just want to give Steph a big cuddle.
Oh, yeah, it's really sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thinking about us recording this, it's hard to come at it to do our traditional talk about each challenge and then talk about stuff as it went on. Because when you know the outcome, like the lead of any, sporting final, it starts with, this is the person who won and this is how they did it.
Yes.
Something like this. What do you think about the fact David won?
I think David was, if it was being judged on what they did on that day, which is how it's judged, David was a very worthy winner. Yeah. He had an excellent weekend. He produced some excellent stuff. He deserved it, hands down. Yeah.
I would fully agree. I think everything that he had perhaps struggled with, perhaps not done to the brief, as we've said, perhaps not done quite in the proper way of the competition, however the best way to say that is, he did it this weekend.
Yeah, he just pulled it out of the bag. Yeah. It was really good.
It reminded me, I think it's the very first series, possibly the second, where I think there's only one challenge, but it's basically to make a giant picnic hamper spread thing. And they ended up, didn't they? They ended up deliberating for like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't decide. And I think the one, possibly even the chap who won it, was the one who was weakest going in. Right. And it was very much like, he's there, but the other two are much better. Yeah. But on the day, he produced something so excellent. I can't remember now. I might need to go back and check. But I think he might have won it. And I would imagine part of that deliberation was, are we judging it on this or the episodes before?
Yes.
And I think the decision out of there and what they've always done has been exactly like you say. It's based on...
This is this round. This is this match.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, the winners of the Champions League.
Yep.
Don't get judged based on everything.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the Champions League is the wrong...
No, absolutely.
Thing,
once it becomes a knockout competition... Yeah,
then it's about that match.
Yes.
It's not about have you been great over the entire season or not.
Yeah, your goal difference and points earned and that kind of thing, which would be another way to do this, but
that's not how it works.
That's not how it works at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a real shame, and I think we can talk about the other two as well. But yes, David did knock it out of the park, and well done him. Well done him as clearly a very good baker.
Yeah.
Who, when he really works at the brief, and when it's something that perhaps even suits him as well, he can do well.
Absolutely.
So congratulations to him.
Yeah, well done, David.
But it's really heartbreaking to see Steph have a bad week.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, my heartbreak is not so much because she lost. It's that she didn't leave on a high, if you know what I mean.
And especially because she had a mistake, a problem in the technical that went wrong, and she didn't galvanise from it.
No.
It was then the next day is going to go wrong, and now it's all going to be down, which, we all know that frame of thinking.
Yeah.
And how you can seem like everything's really bad, and it's a real shame that you see it on screen as well.
I'm sure we'll go into this more, but I didn't like that technical challenge.
Okay. Well, we'll touch on that in a bit, because we'll definitely go through the challenges properly. There's two things that kind of occur to me. One is the thing I've said elsewhere about how people who do poorly in early episodes but survive because there is a bad person going out learn how to play the game.
Yes.
They learn how to survive. And I'm not sure Steph's ever had that.
No.
So... had she had a problem on an earlier week, maybe it would have helped her in this case, but because she hadn't, and there was no need to learn it, it was just, and from here on out, and it's a real shame. We also do podcasts about the Arrowverse shows, Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, DC's Legends Tomorrow. We talk about TVs and movies on other podcasts and other things that we love doing.
I'm interested to see where you're going to draw parallels here.
Go subscribe to Across the Arrowverse for what we do after... Worth the Calories, and go check us out on Patreon. And so it's making me think. I don't think Great British Bake Off has a showrunner.
Okay,
as a person that has overall control and knowledge of the narrative.
Okay,
because if they did, I don't think they would have set up Steph in quite the way they did. I think it's slightly poor form to have had so many weeks where it was just and Steph wins because she's amazing. And for us all to have been led to a point of Steph's wonderful and stands apart, and to then show us, and here's her struggling so badly, and it to be quite so heartbreaking.
Yeah, because I think we're not alone in actually having found that finale difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
And an episode that finished with a feeling of slight emotional devastation rather than, oh, that was nice.
Exactly.
You know,
I think they did well to show us, actually David did very well, and Steph did badly. And Alice did well as well, but not quite as well as David.
Yeah.
But I feel like we'd been led to a point of expecting it. So either they do have someone who has all control of the message and the story through each episode, and I think they've misjudged it, or they don't, because they edit each episode with you're going to come out with a star baker and someone who's leaving, and we need to show each episode through that story.
Because that would be my guess. I mean, I have no idea.
No, and I haven't looked, to be honest with you,
my guess would be that they look for a narrative theme per episode rather than for the series as a whole.
Yeah. And I think perhaps this calls out for someone to have been like, let's make sure we show that Steph is only just ahead on each one, and that she's standing out because other people were not quite up to scratch, which I think we said last week as well. You know, Steph won lots of star bakers because no one else had a good week on the weeks that she did well, and she is slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just about Steph that the last episode was a bit less fun.
Go on.
Because you've got Steph having her own panic attacks and stress.
Yep.
You've got Alice miserable because her parents may or may not get on one of the millions of flights out of Dublin. I mean, come on, there's so many flights out of Dublin.
Get a ferry and drive, you know.
But anyway. But yeah.
And not to be coming back on that day. I know there was a wedding. I at least wouldn't have stayed overnight. If not have gone, but we don't know their situation. Let's be most rational explanation.
And seriously, there's about one flight to the UK from Dublin every 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was there last week. I could see them all on the board.
Yeah. There are many airports you can find.
Anyway. But so she's got her stress going on. Yep. Steph's got her stress going on. David's never the most extrovert in the tent anyway. He just gets his head down.
Yeah.
So the sort of the camaraderie and the fun and the bouncing off each other that you often see on Bake Off was just not there.
No.
And you know, and that's not necessarily a criticism of the participants. They're just doing their thing, but it does lead to a slightly more dead atmosphere in the tent. Yeah,
because I can't think of any time that we've had David mucking around with Sandy or Noel. And
that's just not his character, and why should it be?
No, absolutely. But and I can't think what else they would have done. Maybe there's a thing that the challenges on the final ramp up to a slightly too higher difficulty because they have so much to do and so much to create, and
it's pressure built in by short timing again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think I'm sure he must have said at least once every episode.
At least, absolutely. So I feel like the Bake Off perhaps always has a final problem. I'm not, because I mean we were angry last year for different reasons.
Yeah, at least yeah. Well, I'm a little angry. I'm a little angry. But I think mainly because I don't consider an eggy dish a bake.
Okay.
That's why I'm angry.
Well, we're going to come to the challenge, Catherine.
But yeah, sorry. But yeah, at least we didn't have to go outside and cook over a campfire.
Last year was ridiculous, and then had Rahul's jar exploding, which obviously didn't cost him anything, but was like, okay, crikey, they should not be baking in this temperature, and I'm almost tempted at some point to go back and watch all the finals again. Has there ever been a good? Because the other thing that I think we might have mentioned last week is before it went to Channel 4, the person who'd won multiple star bakers had never won. Which does speak to the final becoming a bit more even, and then suddenly the person who won all the star bakers started being the person who won, which perhaps the show now leans into more. Yes, we recognise there are people who seem more deserving. This year is different than either of those, I feel.
Yeah.
Challenges. First one was a chocolate cake.
Yes.
This is a good challenge. This is a very good challenge. It's slightly specific, but general enough to let them do what they want to do.
So it's my birthday on Saturday.
Okay.
You're going to make me one of each?
I will make you whatever you want to be made. We did have cherry tartan.
Oh, yes.
And I'm sure we found a cherry meringue thing earlier in the year as well.
Yes.
So you might have to pick one.
To be honest, anything as long as it's got cherries in it.
Cherries and sweets and chocolates and things. Absolutely. Yeah, okay. So, chocolate cake, any sort of chocolate cake, any style they wanted to. So we had a black forest cake, we had pear, ginger and maple, and we had Armagnac and prunes. Do any of those stand out as better to you? Are they all exactly the sort of thing you want?
Okay, I will rank them in terms of my edibility, my eatability desires. Okay. 1, Steph's, because it's got cherries in it, and also it looked delicious. 2 would be David's. Right. I love a nice, moist, boozy cake.
Okay.
3, Alice's. It looked nice. It
Pears.
Wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not really not. I mean, I like a nice fresh pear. Mm-hmm. Poached pears, just not my bag. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's my take on poached pears.
Yeah. I think it's the one that stands out as being different than the others. Yeah. Because it's going away from the sort of chocolate, sweetie, luxury decadence into a pear cake that's a pear and chocolate cake, you know.
Yeah, and I think from memory, Paul was a bit like, it's not a chocolate cake, love.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing with hers was that it was leaning. Hers didn't look a bit wonky, wasn't it? But they said it did taste very good, and certainly I think the bake was excellent on hers. David's was too alcoholic. Steph's was balanced but crumbly.
Yeah, a little bit overcooked, wasn't it?
Okay.
Which would you eat? Or which would you like to eat the most? I mean, because, come on, really, we'd eat all 3, wouldn't we?
Yeah. I'm wary of there being a lot of cream on the Black Forest cake.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm not sure. The ganache that she did on the outside was exceptional. I'm very jealous of that ganache, so maybe that one. The Armagnac and prunes did look very good as well. I'm sure that would be excellent. And that's what I mean with the decadent tastiness of it. I clearly would have done the oil chocolate cake that I've done for you on several years with the vanilla buttercream. That would have gone down well. Yum. Technical challenge. Right. 6 twice-baked Stilton Soufflés with a La Roche cracker.
Okay, the La Roche cracker.
Lavash, whatever it's called.
Lavash, right, cracker.
Yep.
I've no problem with that.
Okay.
That's a perfectly acceptable thing to give as a technical challenge.
Okay.
But the souffle, it's an eggy, savoury thing. It's not a bakey thing.
Okay.
And there's an inherent meanness in setting a technical challenge that if you do the bake wrong, you cannot recover it because you've just got a puddle on your plate and you're stuffed. And I just think it's chosen to engender the sort of outcome we got with Steph. And I think that's just mean.
Okay.
So that's why I'm cross.
Okay.
I don't think it's a proper thing to have.
They've done soufflés before. For definite. As dessert soufflés, chocolate soufflés.
That might be more acceptable.
They've done quiches and pies and tarts and things. As challenges, whether it was technical or not, I can't remember, but fine. I mean, they were baking, and there is an element of it that the final incorporates lots of different skills. I can stand it, except you do make an exceptionally good point about it's there for that thing. What else could they have done that went wrong? Because let's say Steph gets that bit of the bake right, and it comes out, and hers and Alice's and David's were not too dissimilar. David's obviously stood out as even better, but his crackers were terrible, so there is something in the crackers there to help them differentiate, because is it just down to...
They just wanted someone to have a soggy mess on a plate.
Yeah, because she... And is it edited in a way so that we understand what happens when we get to Steph's?
But also, it's about that timing thing as well. You know, if they weren't just trying to make one or more of them fail miserably, they'd give them slightly more time. Because I imagine the reason she took it out of the oven when she did was because she'd run out of time.
Yeah.
So she made a mistake and she ran out of time. So all she could do was end up with a soggy mess on a plate.
Yeah.
I think it was an unfair challenge.
Okay.
Now that might be because I just wanted to go and give her a hug.
Yeah.
But even the other two didn't get a great result.
No one came out of this well. And there is something that certainly by this stage of the competition, you want the technical challenges to be coming out really well, but at some point they have to make a decision in presentation, in cutting, in layering, in something that helps them decide who's done what. Perhaps almost make it, this is the one that is something exotic to us, that we don't know how to do, that they have to make a decision of, wait, I plait it? How do I plait it? How many plaits do I do? Or I fold it, but how many times, something on those lines. Perhaps this is the one where that's where the decision has to be, not how to bake it. But at the same time, a technical challenge should be testing your technical knowledge. And her technical knowledge was not how to do, for one of them was not how to bake the souffle, and the other one was not how to bake a roux. Yeah. So it was testing the technical challenge, the technical knowledge quite well. I think I definitely stand it more than you. I can stand it as a challenge because it did help differentiate them. The problem is Steph's reaction to that. Then, like you say, went into a panic attack and a difficult second day. Yeah,
I just feel they were set up to fail.
Yeah.
Which I don't like.
Which is a shame. Yeah, it's very, very sad.
Yeah.
I think I'll remind you of that on weeks 1 or 2 next year.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of technical challenges do this. I think if you don't know the thing you're supposed to do and you do it wrong, yes, it seems like you're set up to fail. But what they're setting up is your knowledge good enough? Should they be doing that in the final? That's probably where the question rests. And yeah, I think I agree with you. They shouldn't be doing that in the final, but did they expect they would have known it?
Who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows?
So our third challenge, the showstopper, was a deceptive feast with cake, biscuit, and enriched dough with a picnic basket and contents. Any thoughts on this one?
I didn't hate it.
Okay.
I've seen worse finale
absolutely
showstoppers, and I think it did allow them to bring in a wide variety of creativity. So actually, I think it was a decent final technical challenge. Nice. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
And I thought having there's a sort of disguised element gave it an interesting twist.
That I really liked. I think they've done this once or twice before as a bake a cake that looks like something else.
Yes.
People have done loads of bread.
Yeah.
It is the Bake Off extra slice thing, isn't it? I don't rate David's quite as highly as I think they did, because David faked his with icing and decorating.
Oh, lots of fondant icing, agree.
And a few tricks like that, which I get. They don't say not to do that, and they say make it look like something else. But it feels like I wrapped it in the skin of something, and so it looks like that thing. Whereas everyone else had gone to, and Steph struggled, so it didn't quite come out as well. But they had gone, I've made a macaron that looks a bit like a strawberry.
Yes.
Or I've made this thing that looks, a bun that looks like a peach or something along those lines. Although, was that him? Yeah, I think that was him. But things like the cheese board, definitely. The fig rolls that look like sausage rolls.
I did think you're cheating. You've already done fig rolls, dude.
Yeah, and the fig rolls that look like fig rolls.
Yeah.
That's what they look like. So I don't even buy that one as well. So that's the one bit that I think they've bought into his deception more than perhaps it deserves. But at the same time, the thing is, make things look like other things, and he did that. So you've got to give him credit.
And within that, they seem to really enjoy the taste of what he produced as well.
Yes, there is that side of it that his bake, and that's probably why I don't think he's a bad winner. I don't.
No,
I
think he was a worthy winner on the day.
Absolutely, but I don't think he was quite as far ahead as it seemed to be, certainly by that point.
I think also because they made them each do a nougatine basket as well, didn't they?
Yeah,
that was like a compulsory element.
Yep.
And his nougatine basket was by far the best.
Absolutely, absolutely straight.
Beautiful.
Yeah, really well done.
Yeah.
So,
and that wasn't a bit that wasn't a bit that they went into very much on the show.
No,
it's just, hey, they've all got nougatine baskets, and some of them are cursing about birds, and some of them have done them better than others. But David's was definitely the best.
Yes, yeah, and assembled very well because he's clearly very good at what he does. So
super organised.
Yeah. Do we have any comments on Alice? We haven't really mentioned her so much.
I feel the hard thing is I can't remember much of what she did for the Showstopper. I have an impression of a memory of what she did being pretty good, pretty competent.
Like, yeah.
Just can't remember what it was. Can you remind me?
Strawberries. I think the strawberry macarons. Maybe. I've got carrot cake. She did a cake that.
Oh, she did that great Scotch egg carrot cake.
That was the thing.
That was really nice.
And she
really
did
clever.
The ice creams,
which were okay.
Which I think didn't taste as well.
Right.
But I think they did look like ice creams. I mean, the problem is they don't melt like ice creams.
So, yeah. Yeah. I thought her Scotch egg was outstanding. I actually think as an individual item, that might be...
probably the winner.
Yeah. Although, I think Steph's burger looked pretty good.
Yes, yeah. But you could see the bake hadn't gone well. Yeah. Very overbaked.
Yeah, she left half of it initially in the thing. Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was, oh, yes, I could see that as a burger. So, shame. Yeah, I think Alice did very well. She gave David a run for her money. But everything came off for him today.
Yeah.
Which, and on any other week, he would have won Star Baker as well.
Absolutely.
On any other week.
Absolutely.
So, well done, David.
Well done, David. So.
Go on.
Are we going to do... Well, I say we. Are we going to do the Stilton Soufflés?
I feel like I should.
Yeah.
To complete it. And there are a couple of others that we've not done that I think we should return to.
Yeah.
And maybe later in November and December we try them and put more episodes out.
Yep.
We don't have soufflé dishes. I think is our first problem.
I was going to suggest we see what putting the muffin, that silicone muffin thing, and putting that over maybe a roasting dish with water in the bottom and see if that has the same effect. Because, I mean, okay, maybe we might struggle with if there need to be steam in the thing, but it's the same deal, isn't it?
I'm not sure it's necessarily about the steam. I think it's about cooking them in a bath of...
Well, I reckon if we put our silicone muffin thing into the roasting dish with some water around it, I reckon that would...
Let's give it a go.
Let's give that a crack.
Okay, let's try it.
Yes.
Last week's challenge was Gâteau Saint-Honoré.
Saint-Honoré. And so you did it.
I did most of it.
Yeah, you did all of it. Well, you did. I did none of it apart from eat it.
You did the buying of the puff pastry because I, like others, bought the puff pastry.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, there is a time and a place to make puff pastry.
Never.
I'll tell you who also did it. Our friend Debbie, who we spoke to earlier in the series. She made Gâteau Saint-Honoré, and she has also been making all of them,
yes,
and doing very well as well.
Debbie's an excellent baker.
We had a good message from Debbie, so let's hear what Debbie had to say about it.
Interstitial music.
Hi, Catherine and Matthew. Yeah, so Gâteau Saint-Honoré. I'd always wanted to make one of these big French patisserie classics, but of course they seem like so much work, and I found it was a lot of work. I decided ahead of time not to do the puff pastry because I don't know why you would do that to yourself, especially after the fiasco that was Walker pastry. I thought I deserved a slightly easier ride. But anyway, I'm sure that fancy chefs say that they don't make their own puff pastry, and it was my day off. And is that enough excuses? I hope so. Overall, I really enjoyed making it. I love a choux bun. I love a custard type situ. I love caramel. I have a lot of burns, and I'd like it if my choux buns had been a bit more even. And I don't have an honoré nozzle, so it doesn't look like it should. But overall, I'm really pleased with it. I thought the bakers did so well to get all of that done because it was a really, really full-on bake. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with for the final. All right, bye, guys.
Interstitial music. Thank you, Debbie.
So yeah, I also did not make puff pastry.
But you made everything else.
But I made everything else.
What was the most challenging bit?
Let me think about all the different bits of it.
Yeah.
I need to remind myself. So there's a puff pastry layer. There are profiteroles, choux pastry
with a hole in the middle.
Spheres, yeah. With the creme chabouste
Shaboost.
in them, piped on them, and then dipped in caramel as well. I did not do the chantilly cream.
Because
I didn't want to.
No.
Frankly.
No.
What was hardest? The creme chaboost probably took longest.
Okay.
And I feel like it's set way more. The fact that it's making a custard and you put gelatin in it.
Oh, what's the gelatin in it?
There's gelatin in it. There's 3 sheets of gelatin in it. And it's a really strange thing. So you're making a very small custard.
Right.
So whole milk and vanilla pod and egg yolks and maybe some caster sugar.
Nice.
No, not caster sugar in that bit, I think. Oh, and a little bit of caster sugar, half the caster sugar in that. And then some corn flour. So it's got corn flour in it.
Yeah,
which is going to make it
quite
set.
a thick. Yeah.
And then it's got 3 sheets of gelatin in it.
3 sheets?
3 sheets.
3 sheets?
Rather than headbutting your microphone.
It's just an expression of my horror at the idea of 3 whole sheets of gelatin going into such a small amount of custard.
Well, yeah, and it was not a large amount at that stage anyway. And then you put it in a bowl and let it set. And it sets into a gelatinous...
lump?
Non-Newtonian fluid, frankly. it is a lump of weird oozing jelly thing. Because it doesn't flatten out because it's not that sort of liquid at that point.
Gelatin is not our friend, is it?
And then when that's cooled down, or when it's just about water. Oh no, when it's cooled down, you use the egg whites and the rest of the caster sugar to make a meringue.
Right.
Mix the meringue into it and then fold the next half of the meringue in as well to give it more volume.
But it sounds like it would be quite hard to fold the meringue in if it's now essentially a lump of wibbly wobble rubber.
Properly having to mix it in.
Yeah.
And it felt a little bit lumpy, so I did do the thing we've seen on the Bake Off of I stuck it through a sieve.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I got any lumps out of it, which it was okay before, but it felt a bit better afterwards.
Mm.
And then you have to stick it in piping bags, and then you have to pipe it. So that was okay, but it was just, it seemed to take a long time to get through each stage of it. Fine. The piping was annoying because obviously you fit a fairly small nozzle, but it's a thing that's got air in it. So you're kind of removing some of the air as you push it through a small nozzle anyway.
Yeah, what was the point of putting the egg yolk in there?
Yeah, it really felt like you were sort of concentrating it more. And then I made a slight mistake with the choux pastry because at the point I'd made the pastry and then put the eggs into it as well, it was still a little thick.
Right.
So I was like, right, I'm going to start putting bits of another egg in. So another egg, beat the egg in a cup, and then started pouring a bit in. I hadn't quite beaten it well enough, and a large lump poured in, and it ended up a little too runny. So my choux ended up slightly thinner than it should have done, and the choux, once baked, was sort of wider than it was tall. It still rose.
A squat choux bun.
Yeah, absolutely. A little more like a small eclair, perhaps might be the way to describe them. So it wasn't bad. Just, I can see there is a point where you get to exactly the right mixture of it. I was one side of it before the egg, I was the other side of it afterwards. I didn't know whether it was a need to have more flour or something in it to get it there. The caramel, I was okay with the caramel. Debbie burned herself and then got lots of caramel over her, drops on her countertop.
Oh,
that had to be scraped off because it did get it properly set. And I was quite impressed actually that once it's set, if you reapplied it to the heat, it then softened again.
Right.
It was actually quite a nice thing to make and use. It was one of the bits that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I've always struggled with the sugar stuff that we've done.
Yep.
This came off really well to the extent as it was setting and I was trying to just see if I could drizzle some over. I was getting those, sometimes we see them doing strands of sugar to put on top of things. I was doing that.
We can put sugar work on your CV.
And it's like, I can see how this works if you get it to the right point. So, I was pleased with that. I used tongs and dipped them in the sugar. That was fine. Then when I tried to clean off the sugar that had set on things, one of the sharp bits of the caramel came off and stabbed me in the finger and I got blood everywhere. And it appears I got sugar inside my finger.
You are the only person that I know that has cut his finger open on caramel.
Yeah. It's a little ridiculous, but fine. We got there. I'm very disappointed in the dessert as a whole. The pastry has zero flavour. The creme caramel and the creme chaboost and the caramel have a sort of sugary custard flavour, which is fine, but I don't see the point of this.
I think even if we ordered this in a proper high-class French patisserie, we both be a bit like, where's the cake?
Yeah. It's very bland pastry with very sugary and very creamy covering.
And the thing is, I don't think either of us, our go-to is not bland pastry plus a creamy thing.
Yeah.
You know, cream cakes, a cream eclair and things like that. Didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, so that was a shame, but it was interesting to assemble it and do it. It was interesting to bake puff pastry in layers of baking sheets.
Yeah.
To keep it flat, because it did come out really nice and crispy. Like that was quite an interesting thing to have done.
Yeah.
And that pastry sheet we bought a few weeks ago, we're getting some money out of that.
Absolutely.
Useful.
It's really good, isn't it?
Really good. So you know, if you make pastry stuff and roll out pastry, a pastry sheet is worth buying.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought your eclair, not your eclairs, your
Freudian slip there, Mrs. Vose.
I thought your shoe was nice. I thought the creme chabouste was perfectly tasty. I would have had no idea it had quite so much gelatin in it.
Yeah.
So and I liked the caramel.
Like Debbie, I don't have Saint-Honoré nozzle either. So I used a sort of fake star one, which fine, you know, I piped bits on, but whatever. Yeah. So yes, it was interesting to do, but not one that I think will live in the memories of. It's not a wagon wheel.
We shan't make it again.
No.
I'm sure I'll make the wagon wheel again either.
But the wagon wheel was a good challenge, and there have been a few.
Yeah.
I think this year has been much more, and this leans back into the double baked thing we saw this time, the souffle. Much more challenging than interesting.
More aimed at catching them out.
Yeah.
Talking about wagon wheels though.
Go on.
Your chat about the creme chabouste and the gelatin. Actually, I was getting flashbacks of the wagon wheel.
Yeah.
And having that mallow in the piping, the piping nozzle, and actually then just having to take a spoon and scrape it out from the back because it was far too set to pipe. And that is the one. Yeah, it does ring the memory, because there was an exact moment when piping that was really easy and it didn't ooze too much and it set really well. And if you were one side of it, it ran too far. If you were the other side of it, you had to do the scraping and thing. And it's just a bit of experience with it that lets you. So it's not really appropriate for a technical challenge, maybe. Although, I mean, and I know it's not the same recipes as they get for the technical challenge. Can I make a controversial statement?
Go on.
I don't know if these recipes are perfect.
Oh, interesting.
I think, for example, they might have told you to put too much gelatin in your creme chabouste.
Okay.
Just putting that out there. And I think there was something else where that we did this season. I need to think back to what it was, where I'm like, I don't think these quantities are quite right.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I know what it was.
Go on.
Those maids of honour and the quantities of the pastry. Physically impossible to get the right amount of circles out of that puff pastry.
Would it have been easier, and now we have the pastry thing to roll it? I think might have made a difference.
Well, to roll it, yes. But I still do not think I could physically have got the requisite number of circles from that amount of puff pastry. Okay. Because I already rolled it thinner than it was saying in the recipe. And whilst if you were looking at 12, let's say 12 circles weigh 100 grams, I may have had 100 grams worth of pastry, but they damn sure weren't coming in exactly 12 circle shapes.
No, and you can't re-roll puff pastry. It's not like it's biscuit dough.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So just things like that. I'm like,
okay, yeah, no, that's a very fair point.
Yes.
Okay. So we know who this year's winner is.
We do.
We know what the technical challenges were.
We do.
We know it's going to be a year until another show. Oh. And they have auditions out for another show, so we should be back next year.
Yay.
To do this again. We might be back if we try and fit in some of the catch-up stuffs.
Absolutely.
Do a few more.
Make me a cake.
And we'll see if the Celebrity Bake Off, New Year Bake Off charity, all the different renditions they do of them, whether they might be worth doing some episodes over.
Absolutely. I am not. I repeat, not trying anything they try and make the professionals do.
No. Well, have you seen Liam is now hosting Bake Off Junior?
Oh, is he?
Yes. It's him and Prue and Harry Hill, I think, someone like that.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, we could try those.
Well, yeah, it could actually be quite interesting to be...
No, I'm actually quite excited and keen to watch that.
Yeah. Well, it was an interesting watch.
Yeah, awesome.
Terrific. Thank you very much for everyone who joined us during the series for their baking, everyone who got challenges. I hope your belts have survived, and I hope your wallets have survived by all the random stuff we've had to buy in.
Yay.
It was a lot of fun hearing from so many people. I think that has kept me going to hear and see on Instagram all the different things people have tried to see. Yes, this is ridiculous and hard.
Yay.
Yeah. If you like what we do, we have a Patreon if you want to support us. Merch and extra shows and join us playing games online. Join our Discord server so you can check that out and help support us. And you can check out the other shows we do. We'll see you next year for some sort of catchphrase.
Bake!